Hello, I'm Mary Susie from Bead Me a Story, and today I'm going to show you how to make this really adorable feather boa bracelet. This does stretch, so it doesn't need a clasp on it, and then I'm going to show you how to make some earrings. We'll be making shrinkettes into little feather fans in order to use in this, and I'm going to show you how to do that first. Then we're going to go into the bracelet, and we'll talk about how to build this, and then we're going to make some earrings at the end, and I'll show you another way to use your little fans that you're going to make. I just want to show you with this bracelet, on Bead Me a Story website we have lots and lots of Shaggy loop bracelets, and I just want to bring this one in here to show you. This is our Shaggy Magatama bracelet, and the reason I'm showing this to you is we have a free video for this. But this is a kit that you can buy on the website. You can get it in a bracelet. There is a necklace to kind of match this, and earrings. The reason I'm showing you this is just because this is thicker, these are basically the same weave. Okay, so this is really cute to hang beads off of and do all sorts of things. And I just want to show you, because you can see the rubber O-rings in this particular piece, that this is stretchy and that this has a center row that everything's going to work around. We're basically using that same technique here. We've just filled in this bracelet a whole bunch so that it's really puffy and really exaggerated and really fun. So without further ado, let's get started. So in order to make these feathers out of trinkets, the first thing we want to do is get our template out, and we're going to go ahead and create our circles using the template. Okay, so I just like to use a pencil to trace these out. But what you need to do is go one further, and if you can see these marks on the side of the template, I put a little mark on each side so that once I cut my circle out, I'll be able to go ahead and cut this straight across. Okay, so see, I'm not real definite about it. I don't have to create a line and cut straight across, but in order to get that fan shape or feather shape that we're looking for, I put the little marks here, so once I have my scissors out, I've got something to aim for, and I can cut it in half pretty easily. In order to cut my circle, I'm just using regular scissors, and I just want to remind you that when you cut, you are actually moving this piece of plastic with your left hand, and your right hand is just closing the scissors. Okay, so see how I'm just feeding this around? So whenever you're cutting curves, just remember it's your left hand doing the work, not your right hand. Okay, so this doesn't have to be perfect. And then remember how I put these marks on either side? So now what I'm going to do is I am just going to cut this straight across. Okay, and then once I have that cut straight across, I'm going to get my 3/16 inch hole punch, because I want a good size hole in this so that a larger size jump ring can fit through it. And I just guesstimate it. I try and get it in the middle, and I try and give it a little bit of room. These can be uneven sometimes, but that's okay, because it's going into a very busy piece of work. Okay, so once I have this, I'm going to fringe the outside edge of the trinket. So what I like to do is 2 cuts up close to the top. You can see I can go the furthest in, up at the top here. Okay, I'm going to flip that around. It's just easier to reach this top edge if I have it facing the direction that you're seeing. Okay, so now that I've got those first 2 cuts on either side, I'm just going to continue, And what I want to do is just kind of create a semicircle around this. And you can see I'm staying pretty far away from the circle, but I'm using the circle that I cut out as my template so that I don't cut too far in, okay? So you can see I've got little cuts all the way around. Now I want to come back into these big sections and add additional fringes. So see how I added like 2 more there? I'll just add 1 more here. I don't want to get these cuts too close to each other because you can actually cut a triangle out. So if one of my cuts I want to keep it down close to the edge, that's fine. We're just trying to create texture here, so there's really no rules. Okay, and I just keep going around. Oops. 1 more cut. Okay. So before you start painting, this is what your little feather, your little fan feather is going to look like. Okay. Now I'm going to bring in my inks. Oops, sorry, dropped my scissors. Okay, so for this project, I really wanted to get kind of an iridescent quality. This ink works great. The Brilliance Pearlescent inks, they work great for sticking to your plastic. The only thing I don't like about these is that if you actually take your finger and rub on them, some of the mica powder or whatever they use to put in there to get that pearlescent can come off. So I'm kind of careful on which things I use it with. It'll work on all the shrink plastic and you may want to seal it, but I didn't really feel it was necessary to seal it. It just was necessary to be careful where I used it and not use it on, you know, great big portions of things where it was going to tend to rub off on the skin. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, I just open this up and I'm just going to ever so slightly add some color to the fringes. Okay, so I got one side. And I want to do the other side. So these definitely need to be 2-sided charms, so you don't have to go crazy with this color. A lot of what I'm trying to do is just get it into these little grooves in between, and then as for the outside part, I'm trying to keep it extremely light. Okay, so I've got that shaded. I think you can see now that I put it down on the white paper that it's shaded. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I found a round circle, and I just want to show you that stamps aren't always made in these perfect circle patterns. So just to give you another suggestion of something really neat that you can do to work with your trinkets is when you don't find the stamps you want, you can actually carve your own stamps. So this I carved out, and when I'm using this type of stamp, a lot of times I'll take the circle and actually lay it down on the stamp. But these work really, really nicely, and you can carve them out yourself. I could cut this out so it's more of an individual stamp. But in this case, I actually did find a little rubber stamp that I had that was a circle, okay? And what I'm going to be trying to do with this is get into this little half circle portion that we have remaining. And this is a new ink that I just bought, and I really, really am happy with this. This is going to go on to all the colored shrink plastic papers, all the opaques. It stays perfectly and shows up on any surface. So this type of ink can be used on the black. And this one's called Versa Magic Multi-Surface Chalk Ink. Okay, and this one, just so you know, this was the orchid, pearlescent orchid that I used. And then this one is called Pink Grapefruit. And this is the one I'm going to be using on my stamp. Okay, so you notice I didn't do the whole thing. I don't need to. And I'm just gonna put that down. You see it's a little off center. Doesn't really matter. It's not gonna matter in the end. So I put it on that side. And now I'm gonna put it on the other side too. Okay, so that gives me some unique color and texture back on the inside of this. I'm going to wipe off my stamp. Keep it clean for the next time. Keep your baby wipes handy. And maybe a little spray bottle of water. When this dries out, if you just spray it with water, it's gonna be perfect for cleaning up your next stamp. And then if you want to, put this piece of shrink plastic between two pieces of paper and rub to get out any juiciness. Okay. See how it left some marks there? Okay, so now this is basically ready to shrink. So when I did this, I did a bunch of these. I mean, I had probably 30 of them going. So what I did was I used my little wooden box. You can use a cardboard box too if you don't have a wooden box. Julie Haymaker had told us these boxes could be gotten at Michael's for about $1, and she was absolutely right. I was able to pick up a bunch of them, and I have some that are a little shorter too. So they did have those last I was in there. Okay, so I put this one in. Now when I did this, I actually went ahead and shrunk two at the same time, and I used my little bamboo tongs to be able to push down on two at a time. So I held one over here and one over here, and then brought in my heat gun. So since I do not have two this time, and I'm just gonna show you how to shrink one, I'm just gonna use a wooden stick and hold it into place. Okay, so I'm turning on my heat gun. It's gonna get a little bit louder. This doesn't take much to do this. Now hopefully you can see the little fringes all bending out. So all those little fringes that we cut along the outside edge are gonna suddenly create some texture for us. Okay, so now that I've shrunk this, I just want you to see, I'm not going to flatten this out, but you can see here how much texture we got from these fringes, okay, and how they're how they just do it automatically. You don't need to put this into a mold or anything. It's just going to do it automatically. Some of them will be flatter, some of them will be more textured, but this little technique works wonderfully. You can do it around the outside of a circle. You can do it on a half circle like I did here. You could do it on the side of a leaf, but creating the fringe texture gives you a lot of performance out of your trinkets once you add it in, because it's going to add a certain randomness and a certain depth to your work. So anyway, that's how you create a fringed trinket. Okay, so we're going to take our little shrinky feathers, and we're going to turn it into a stretchy boa bracelet. Okay, see all my fun feathers in there? Okay, so in order to do this, the first thing we want to do is make our inside row. And I just want to show you that that inside row is going to be stretchy, and that's due to our EPDM rubber O-rings. And these are Cupcake pink. And then I have on the sides of it gold. So let me just show you this. So I've gone ahead and pre-opened. If you have a medium-sized wrist, about a 6.5 inch, if you measure your wrist and wear a standard medium, then you want about 21 of the rubber O-rings and about 21 of the metal jump rings. You're gonna pre-open these first 21. If you need more, you can do 25, you can do 18, whatever size wrist you have, you can adjust to it. And when you get to the end, you can put it around your wrist and adjust it a little at the end. Okay, so you have your one open jump ring. You want to pick up 2 rubber O-rings. and then we're going to close. I have a whole video to show you how to open and close jump rings properly, where I go into a lot of details about how I'm pushing towards where these meet, and I'm somewhat overlapping and bringing this back. Okay, so if you don't know how to open and close jump rings properly for chainmail, please visit my video. Okay, so you see I have 2 in a row of the rubber O-rings. I have 1 jump ring. Now I'm going to pass through just 1 of the rubber O-rings. I'm going to pick up another rubber O-ring, and I'm going to close again. So I'm just making it an inside chain, a 1x1 chain, and since the rubber O-rings are not going to open, we have to make sure to be picking up 2 rows at a time. Okay, so I pass through the rubber O-ring, my jump ring, pick up another one, and close. Okay, so just continue that until you get to however many rows you think you probably need to make this Shaggy loop bracelet. And like I said, a medium would be about 21 rows, so if you want to add or subtract from that, that'll be just fine. And now, just to show you, here is our inside row. Okay, so now to show you how we added all this puffiness to this, you're going to need 18 gauge 3/16 jump rings. These are just round. And the reason I'm using these round to connect to my center row is because these are going to slip through our feathers really well. Okay, so just to show you how we're going to add to a row, so you can see I've been adding. I just added a feather. Okay, and on this side I'm going to add some of my closed square rings. Okay, so these are my round rings. Here's my square rings that I'm going to be using to pick up with and creating some of this body that you see in this bracelet. So these, I pre-closed these, and this is my rose pink color and gold. Okay, and when you want to pre-close them so they're real easy and fast to pick up. So I'm going to do, how about a gold, a pink, and a gold on my jump ring. Okay, and see how the fan is already attached to this gold ring here in the center. So I just want to attach some extra rings to the other side. Okay, so we're just adding a bunch of rings to either side. And then we're going to close the jump ring. And that's what's going to hold it on to this center row. Okay, so as we keep filling this, you can see this is stretchy on the inside. So I'm just going to show you a couple more, and then I'll show you where our fans are going to get put. Okay, so I'm doing pink, gold, pink now. And that's going to attach through one of the rubber O-rings that's in the center. Then I'm going to close. And then I'll do gold, pink, gold. So 3 on every single jump ring. It's going to have 3 pieces on it. So sometimes that'll be the feather, and other times that'll just be 3 closed jump rings. Okay, see how I go through the other side of that? Come in with my pliers, close that jump ring. Okay. Okay, so now let's talk about where these feathers are going to sit. What I decided to do was put a feather. There's a feather on every single one of the gold jump rings of the center row. But what I'm doing is, you can see that this feather is on this side. So on my next gold jump ring that needs to be filled, which is right here, this is my first empty guy, the feather is going to be attached on this side, And then on the next one, I'm going to attach it on this side. And on the next one, I'm going to attach it on this side. So see how I'm staggering it, and that's going to, because these are semicircle and really wide, it's going to keep these from overlapping as we go down the piece. And you can kind of, now that you know what I'm doing, you can see that here, 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 here. You can see how I'm staggering it, okay? And it's going to make it lay really pretty too. Okay, so let's get another jump ring. I'm going to do a pink. I'm going to put my feather on, and then a gold. So I have pink on one side and gold on the other side. You can use any colors you want. Okay, and I can see that this last fan was over on this side, so I'm going to apply my new fan to the side that's towards me and close. Okay, so that's on one side of the gold, and then on the other side of that same gold jump ring, let's do a gold, pink, gold. Okay, so see how here's the fan on one side, here's our jump ring that's in the center, and then we'll pass these through the other side. Okay, now the next row is a rubber O-ring that we're going to add to, so we're not going to add any feathers to that. This one's just going to have, it'll have a round jump ring, and then on one side it'll have pink, gold, pink, and then on the other side of that same rubber O-ring we'll have gold, pink, gold. Okay, so we're just staggering this so we give the colors a random quality. Okay, and we're going to keep adding to this until we get all the way to the end, and then I'll show you what to do. Okay, so to finish this bracelet, I just wanted to show you, I added one more row off camera because what I realized, and I do this fairly often, is if we wanted this alternating effect, the feather here, 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 as we went around, we're gonna need an even number of these gold jump rings. So actually this is so thick and so chunky that it really wasn't gonna pose a problem to raise this number to 22. So now they'll be in the base row, there's gonna be 22 gold jump rings and 22 cupcake pink rubber O-rings in order to finish this off properly. So start and end on an even number is the moral of this lesson. And so let me just show you. So we have a rubber O-ring here that we're ending on, and we have a rubber O-ring here that we're ending on. I haven't filled these. We can go back and fill these. But let's go ahead and link the beginning end of the bracelet to the end of the bracelet. Okay, so because this is stretchy, we do not need a clasp. So this, we have to make sure that when we join it, everything's gonna look the same. Okay, so you can see we've got these three. I didn't close that very well. Okay, so we've got these three rings at the end that we need to fill in. So this one and this one, as we know, are just gonna get filled in with jump rings. And then this one here, you can see we've got two fans hanging over on this side. Okay, so we know that this last fan, I'm gonna go ahead and put this in, is going to be over on this side. And once I put this in, this is the last piece that it actually matters where it goes. Okay, so I'll put that right there. So see how that fan's gonna end up alternating sides with all the other pieces. And that's how we go ahead and finish this up. Okay, so I'm going to fill in with my jump rings on either side of this, another set of jump rings here, and jump rings on either side of this. And then we have completed our bracelet, and look how pretty that is. Okay, so everything we've been doing is referred to as a Shaggy loop chain in chainmail. And Shaggy loops are when you basically have a center ring, like this one, and you have something hanging off either side of it. And usually we do it every row. So you'd have a center ring with two things hanging off the side, center ring, two things on the side, center ring, two things on the side, and on and on. But there are a lot of ways to do this and ways to reconfigure it. So since we have this beautiful bracelet all made up, I just wanted to real quickly show you how to make a pair of earrings to match it. And to do that, I'm going to first take one of my jump rings. Again, this is a round jump ring, so it'll fit through the feather. Oops. Okay, put it through the feather, close. So this jump ring, the larger one I'm using, is 18 gauge 3/16. Seemed to work well with this size. That's the size we were using on all of these. Now I'm going to take a 20 gauge 7/64. This is just a really tiny jump ring, and the reason why I wanted to do a really tiny jump ring here is because when you do a 1x1 chain, you see you have a ring facing this way. Now this next ring is going to face this way. Okay, so it's going to be perpendicular to the first ring. And basically, I just want this to disappear in the piece. I wanted it to just make a very short connection. So I used a very tiny ring to do that, so that it won't take up a lot of upward space as we move up. Like, I don't want too much space here. And I think you'll see with the next step what I mean. That I want the next row to drape over the first row properly. So the first row, this is basically going to be the center bottom. And now I'm going to put another, I'm going to pick up one of my feathers. I'm going to pass through this 7/64 jump ring that I just added. And I kind of made, you'll see that when you make these fans, they do curve a little in one direction or another. So I want to make sure that these are kind of curving to the outside. Okay, so see how I have two there? So I had one in the middle and two on the sides, but you see how now my feathers are layering on top of one another. So that's exactly the effect I'm trying to get with the Shaggy loop. And that's why I'm skipping these in between rows. You can see if I put stuff here that everything would get pushed way out, and that's not what we want. We want to get this nice little feathering effect on here. So now I'm going to add another 7/64 jump ring. Again, just a tiny one to help us change directions with. Okay, and then this is going to be our last row. So you can make these as long or as short as you want to. It just depends how many trinkets you made and how far you want to go. If you want real long earrings, real short earrings. I could have stopped after the first pair if I want to keep them really short. But just for effect here today, I want to add at least a couple of rows so you can see what we're doing. And the other thing I want to point out is when we're doing this, we're making a front and a back. So your earrings are going to have a back side too. So if someone is behind you, they're going to think your earrings are just as cute as if they were standing in front of you looking at them. So that's nice to do whenever we can. Okay, so here's our last one. This is our 7/64, and I'm just going to take this 7/64. Again, this changed the direction for us, and that's going to make it so that our feathers are going to face forward. So let me just link this through the ear wire, and then this is all there is to this. So very simple. So if you just make yourself some extra feathers when you're doing your trinket part. You can see that these make absolutely adorable little feather tassel earrings. You could also, if you want to kind of use these as a tassel and use larger beads above it, like go ahead and hook a eye pin to this and then do a bead and then maybe a trinket bead cap or some more bead caps. These are just great. There's a lot of ways that you could use them, but I wanted to go ahead and show you this way since we were doing the Shaggy loop bracelet, and you could see some other options for using your feathers and making a complete set of jewelry out of this. So I hope you've enjoyed this lesson, and I hope everybody makes lots of really cute trinkets and lots of cute Shaggy loops. Thanks so much.